Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is episode number 365 of WPwatercooler, How to Do It Wrong. This is brought to you by WordPress, Maker's Desktop Server. They make local WordPress development easy. Go check them out at serverpress.com.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog.
I'm Steve Zango. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
I'm Sadie Reed. I make WordPress, teach WordPress, preach WordPress at Sadie Reed Media on all the things.
My name is Russell Aaron. I do things with WordPress in Las Vegas.
It's Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mullenweg.
If you want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/WPwatercooler. Go help us out over there. We'd really appreciate it. If you like this content, hit subscribe. Click the little bell. And if you don't have a little bell because you're watching us on Facebook, there's some like buttons and some share buttons. And if you're part of, like, I don't know, a local Facebook group, you should put it in there. We put it in our local Facebook group and people watch it over there. So
drop it like it's hot.
Yeah. Say, this is your topic, girl. Let's make this happen.
So
tell us a little bit about what you have
about my
on
week. About my week.
So
there's this site, right? And I was supposed to rebuild it, but the COVID got in the way. And so instead, we're still going to rebuild it, but everyone's getting impatient. It's like an institution. This is a long story. No, it's not. I'm going to make it short, I swear. Point is, we're in there, and I was just going to scrap this site because it's literal trash. And instead, I now have to do some accessibility band-aids on this fella. And so I went into the back end, finally, which I had just been ignoring. I knew from the front end it was bad, but I didn't know how bad until I went into the back end. And like pretty much the whole site is stuck in the functions file. And it took me like a little bit of time to like even look there because I haven't looked there in the functions file for stuff since like, I don't know, 2008. Something like a real long time. I haven't seen a site do this in a long time. And there's hard-coded content in there. And it's all the pages. It's not just one page. It's not just a footer. It's not just code. It's like actual page content. And it's so bad that I actually almost respect how bad it is. It's like they like hand-coded a PHP site within a WordPress site in one file. But also they have all the page templates happening and like referencing it. It is a literal Frankenstein. Frankenstein.
Wow.
And I am kind of upset because not only do I have to now figure out, well, I mean, I can figure out how to like fix it, but like I have to like fix it. And there's so many other problems with the site, including, and this is, I don't know if the functions file shove-in is the pièce de résistance or the fact that they have an H1 tag, one of many H1 tags, in the footer.
But the H1 tag is what makes the font bigger, doesn't it?
Right. It's not even the same size as the H1 tag on the rest of the page. It's not even an H1 tag to match a style.
Wow.
It's just another H1 tag. And this site, again, was not built in 2008. It was built like about 4 years ago. And I'm telling you, this is what so I see stuff that's messed up. This one's like extreme. This is also one of the ones that has like 12 revolution sliders in it. It actually has 2 redirection plugins and only 1 slider, but you know, anyway, this is the nightmare that I've been working with. And I struggle with a lot of things with this. The hardest one is, how do you tell your client how messed up their site is? Like, they don't know. I can't explain to them what a functions file is.
Right.
So like to them, me saying, I can't fix this because it's so busted. I can't easily fix this. It's going to take a while for me to fix this because it's so programmed wrong. And they're just like, that doesn't make any sense. So we have some people coming at me going like, oh, our consultant said it should only take 2 to 3 hours. And I'm like, well, why don't you tell your consultant to log in to the back end? Oh, they don't know how to do that? Oh, weird. I bet they probably wouldn't know what to do with the functions file either. So I'm a little bitter.
They're going to complain that you removed the PHP editor from the from the dashboard.
I don't even know where to start. Almost, it's so bad. And then, but like that's really one of the problems is how do you even explain to someone who doesn't know what you're talking about how wrong it is? Be like, it's just really wrong. Just trust me, like you trusted these other people who built this thing.
I guess to start, like what you should not do, and we've talked about this probably. It's been probably many episodes that we've gone through this. Don't ever.
There's so many ways you can mess up.
But don't ever edit core WordPress files. Like the stuff that's in the root directory of WordPress should never be touched. Ever. Don't touch it. Don't touch any of that stuff. The only file you
I don't know if they touched that. I don't think they've touched that. I haven't looked at it.
Config.php file. Other than that, everything else should not be touched. And you should never put anything in that config.php file that's going to make anything look different or act any different or anything like that. There's some basic stuff to put in there and nothing more.
I don't know that I've ever seen content in a config file.
Well, we can make it happen.
I don't know that I've ever seen something that wrong. Like that. This is one of the wrongest.
Yeah, I wanted to go all the way down and say,
yeah,
start from here and then I'll work our way up from there.
I mean, because that site couldn't last, right? Like if you put stuff into that, like it would, the first time you did an update, it'd be erased, and like you would have nothing, like because it's erasing like the actual files of the actual program. It's not even like updating a theme or something.
I mean, there's like those hash marks that are at the top that say like anything below this, don't do something, but.
When the file, the problem is when the file doesn't tell you not to update anything in it. So maybe we should put some, maybe the code, maybe I should get on the WordPress track and be like, can we add some code to the functions file that says, hey, this isn't actually where you should be putting content. You should maybe think about this, just so it's there, like a little warning sign, like an early warning sign.
Let's go the next level up. So if you have a theme, and the theme is a theme that probably gets updated regularly. Like if you have like, you're going through, you went and bought some special theme from someplace and now you want to modify that theme. Don't edit the functions.php file that's in that theme, because when you go to, update that theme, it's going to override that functions.php file. WordPress has a thing built into it that lets you do child themes. And if you need to make a child theme, you essentially take whatever it is you want to change, make copies of it, put it in a different folder, and then save that. And now you can make whatever changes you want to that, and it won't affect the base parent theme.
And and this isn't a child. This isn't a child theme.
There you go, right?
No. So I mean, I would still have problems with you adding content to the functions file if you did use a child theme, but at least that would be some sort of like fail-safe for an overwrite. But that's not what this is. This is the theme that you can't update because it's a customized theme. So you can't update it. There's no updating. You have to go in to update it. One of my friends I was talking about with this was like, is that just like job security? Do they just make it so that they're the only ones who can touch it? Like, is that what they're doing?
Maybe.
Or are they just really that inept? I don't know.
Also, maybe. The child theme thing, I will say, if you decide to do a child, like if I saw that a site was running a child theme, I would think, okay, I'm going to check there to see what stuff that they've done in their functions.php. At least I wouldn't have to dig through and try to figure out what plugin, what theme, whatever this is coming from. Also, if you're going to make a child theme, don't try to be clever and name the child theme like something. So like say your site is your theme's Hemingway, don't try to name it some other like author from the time like Fitzgerald or something like that. Because if somebody uploads a theme to the repository named Fitzgerald, you're fucked. Because the second that starts getting updated, I'm sorry to drop the F-bomb, Jason, but the second that theme gets updated, your child theme is going to get overwritten.
Yep.
Name your child theme something like the actual name of your site. Like say child theme for name of site.
Right.
I guarantee that no one will ever put something up in the WordPress repository called child theme for mycatblog.limo.
Yep. And that's good because you're teaching yourself how to use namespaces, because at some point down the road you're going to have to namespace your functions and a couple other things like that. So, yeah.
I am. By the way, the H1 tag in the footer is in the functions file. Just want to point that out.
That's
also
fun.
So like it's not even it's like what was that? Cosper was showing us. We have a side chat and he showed us a cake with 3 pies in it, or 3 pies and 3 cakes, a pumple cake madoobaloo thing, like a turducken, but for pies and cakes. Yes,
it's 3 pies baked into 3 separate cakes and then stacked on top of each other. It is so much of a pie cake that it serves 40 people.
What's it called?
Wow.
The
pumpapple pie cake.
Yeah. This is what this is. This is the functions file. This is the pumple functions file of doom. Like, if you ate the pumple, you'd probably be in a lot of pain. Just like pumpcapple. Where do
these issues come from? Like, who? I used to blame it on Oprah. I used to blame it, like, when something bad would happen and it was a global phenomenon type of thing that would happen, I would go, okay, did Oprah do a book thing where she was telling something about this thing? Like, what's the new thing? Or even the old thing? Like, what is it that's telling people? Is it YouTube videos? Is it
like, where are they getting this bad information?
Yeah, is it like, is there like a
we need to contact trace the bad information.
Which
I mean,
track it down.
I've done that. I mean, I've Googled, like, I grab some text,
a snippet of code.
And Google it and go, oh, this person asked this question someplace. Okay,
wait, sorry. I know you're about to say something, Cosper, but I just want to say, you can actually do that a little bit for this theme, because some of the photos and stock photography they use, they didn't rename the images, and it's like pixels. So you can actually trace their stock photography, but it's cool. Anyway, sorry, what were you going to say, Cosper?
I mean, if you want to contract trace it back, there's 2 places you can go, and that's Stack Overflow, which is normally pretty good about this sort of thing, but there are a few kind of junior developer types who just want to, like, help the newbie get them out of their hair, give them an answer and get upvoted. But also, and I'm going to place the blame at the foot of WP Beginner. If you if you go and do a search on WP Beginner for functions.php, there are a ridiculous number of posts that all mention functions.php, and just toss this code snippet in your functions.php file. The top result is something that started out as 25 extremely useful tips. Now they've got it up to 32.
Pop up.
Whack-a-mole over here, guys. Give me a minute. I'm about to get the high score. Oh my god.
So first published sometime in like 2009, 2010, and now last updated just last year. They're still suggesting that you throw stuff in a functions.php file. And I mean, a lot of the stuff is pretty normcore, like that stuff that you can throw in.
This is bad. This is so bad. This is what, like, this stack on stacks of what this thing is I've got. This is literally suggesting you put a custom logo into your site. If you ever want to change that, you literally have to go back into here and change it. There is no way to actually change that. I guess you could like not from the back end, right? Like if someone ever wants to change that logo, they have to go in here into the back end, into the functions file, and change that line.
There's plugins like
it's unbelievable to me
that will do the same exact thing, that will at least give you some kind of interface that you can make the changes to. And there's better ways to do this. If you wanted to,
anything that's in the functions file should really be referencing something that can be edited from the admin. If it's got any sort of actual content, like an image or a logo or that text right there, like what if someone's email changed? What if the developer's email changed? I guess that's for a developer to like write their stuff so they can go into the file, but that's stuck in that theme literally forever now. And, this is actually, some of this is more benign than, that one's handy.
This one's great. There's nothing wrong with this. But
you can just do that in the template file with like the smallest snippet. Like you don't need all of that code tossed in there. Even if you're a developer trying to get an updated thing, like it's like the simplest little line of code to get it to update to the current year. Like it's really easy. But this theme that I am detangling is we're not even talking about functions that should be plugins inside of the functions file. We are literally talking about page content.
So we have,
and in order to update the newsletter sign-up box, so now there is constant contact reference information inside of the functions file.
Yeah.
Rochelle
posted in the chat. She says, I think sometimes stuff gets bad when devs are working without guidelines and under crazy deadlines. People get lazy and slapdash. Best practices go out the window, which I totally agree.
Yeah, but this is not what that is. Like this is, I can imagine you throw one thing in there, right? Yeah. Like you could throw a couple things in there and you're like, oh, I don't want to make a plugin, or this is going to be easier, or, I'm going to just change these things over here. But to actually like feed content in through the functions file, like that's taking hard coding to like the next level.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm upset about it? Sorry. I'm just mad.
Some things where that the previous developer went and wanted to do some overrides over, say like a Gravity form, where they wanted to have CSS in there, and so they wrote some code that would inject a CSS file in there, and they do it inline, and it's like, well, if you're doing it inline, like you could have done that someplace else, but they wanted to do it through this. And to top it off, that functions file is going to be, unless you specifically say, here's the places on the website I want this to show up on this particular page, this page ID, this page's slug, like any of those things would at least like narrow the scope. I wasn't even
thinking about that.
But it doesn't narrow the scope. It ends up that Gravity form thing shows up on every single page on the entire website. Loading up
a nightmare.
CSS file over and over again. Or if it's JavaScript, that's like do the whole page trying to find stuff. That sucks. It's not the way you're supposed to do it.
What were you going to say, Casper?
It's awful for performance, especially if it's JavaScript. If you're including JavaScript on every page that it doesn't need to be there on, that is just you're screwing yourself over there.
Yeah.
And your client. Mostly your client. Yes. Let's be real. And you're probably charging them a ton of money. I have, so I think in terms of contract tracing, a lot of this can be traced back to developers who don't actually know how to use WordPress and don't bother to actually learn how to use WordPress. And then like, this is just someone who's PHP coding inside, like making a theme out of PHP code in the function file. And they're like, I'm not going to worry about the rest of these parts. Although those are PHP too. So I don't understand why you wouldn't just do it in the right file. But they're just like, everything's just echoed. Like you're just echoing content into the site. Like what? Like you don't have to do that. Like it's really the whole point of WordPress is not doing that. So how is it that you build an entire site that is hard coded in the functions file, and then like it's like you really don't get the fundamental purpose of WordPress. Like you are just completely like like that's when you're coming at it with like a developer mind of hard coding everything. And I used to hard code everything, but this is before the admin and plugins and everything was like, you know, so robust. Like this is when you just had, you know, your basic stuff. But this is like trying to make it do something in order to just because that's not what you what mostly it's probably because they're outsourcing it to some other country. That's really what it comes down to. And I think that's really what it is. And that is like maybe they're not even aware of the code that they're selling to their client. Like, and then, you know, they don't know how to do it right. So when marketers try to build sites for people, you know?
Yeah, the skill set that the person has is PHP. And they see this as a big glob of PHP, but that doesn't necessarily mean they know how to use PHP in the way in which WordPress is doing it. Like WordPress has its own specific way that you need to approach this. And if you're not approaching it that way, then you're essentially writing on top of WordPress, which isn't going to help any. You're not going to get
it's like so useless.
Yeah.
Might as well use a freaking Squarespace site if you're going to do that. Just go with Squarespace and get over it.
You're not using transients the way that it needs to be used. You're not using any of the caching stuff that needs to be used a certain way. Like there's a reason why people do what they do, and it's because the caching works better if you do it the right way. And if you're breaking cache every time you do something, that's not going to help any.
I really can't figure out what the reasoning here is besides that's just all they knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Yeah, there's. But go on, say.
Oh, I mean, they didn't even change out the theme picture that they were using. like they didn't even like the theme picture of like the little custom thumbnail for the theme. Didn't even do that. It's cool. Yeah, it's only a couple $1,000.
Yeah, as someone who works in web performance, I'll say that there are a lot of things that people do or don't do just because they don't know any better, and they'll pick a plugin or they'll pick a theme or they'll pick this thing to throw in their functions file, but then they don't realize that works when you're getting 20 customers to your site, or you're getting 100 visitors a day or something like that. But the second it comes down to you actually need to scale this application, there are plugins that will work for 80% of people out there, but that other 20% who actually need the scale, I mean, it's just not tenable for them.
Well, this is a pretty big website. It's fairly populated, fairly highly trafficked. It's painful. It's painful to me.
Yeah.
I have one other fun thing I want to tell you about the site. You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So I was trying to override some colors. I was like, okay, this is part of the Band-Aid, right? So there's nothing in the theme customizer, of course. There's no CSS in there. So I'm like, great, okay, well, maybe I can override some stuff. So I'm like trying to override it. I'm going to have to use the important tag, which is a great code. But if you're trying to Band-Aid something, it's what you have to do, right? How do you important code in the customizer that has already been importanted in the CSS file? Like,
just double important, right?
This is what I was tweeting about this yesterday. I was like, super important, really important. Please choose this one instead. Like, what is even happening? Like, I can't now. I literally like can't overwrite it. I can't just like. I was like, okay, well, I can just update these colors so that their contrast is accessible. I can like tweak it. Easy, right? Not easy. How? I'm like, so you're overwriting something in your own CSS file because you didn't figure out how this theme worked, or you didn't know what your own code was. Like, you're overwriting something within your own file. So then I can't overwrite it I don't even understand like how that works.
I mean, obviously you just need to write some jQuery that's going to find all the importance and remove them.
What is that even going to, like, what is this even going to do?
I love
someone shooting for minimal viable product. Yeah,
yep,
seriously.
Yep. And then, yep, this exactly. And then, yep. I totally agree. You know, it's like rebuild it later when they, you know, want to make improvements.
Or this client has to pay me to rebuild this site later.
Yep. It's an easy way to soak clients for more money. For basically,
so it's like,
okay, yeah, I'll get the MVP out. And now, after the MVP is out, let's wait a year. And then you start having scaling problems. And guess what? Guess who can come back and fix it? I can come back and fix that.
Or you just want to change something on the site. Like, oh, wait, this phone number is wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go into the code to change the phone number now? Like, I have to hire a developer?
I know what I can improve because I'm the one who made it crap to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's job security.
Yeah, and obviously, Future Me is going to be way better at this than Past Me is. So, yeah, it'll be good.
I mean, it's so tangled. They're actually not wrong. That's actually not an incorrect thing, because I'm like literally having to charge hours to figure out what is done wrong. Like, this is why I didn't want to do this Band-Aid in the first place. I'm like, I don't want to charge you to sit here and try to figure out how bad this code is. Like, what is that? Like, that seems messed up to me.
It doesn't make them wrong. To borrow from the Big Lebowski, it just makes them an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it works, right? So what does doing it wrong even mean? Like, if it works, it's not like usable, but like, you know, if you go to the domain, there's a site there. Right. So this is why WordPress gets a bad rap. Like, this, because these companies do this. And then this is also why developers and people complain about this ish, because they're like, oh, this is so complicated or whatever. This is why users are like, I can't make my WordPress site work. It's because it's built wrong. You know, it's like, if you have anything that is built incorrectly, it's not going to work right. And you can't judge it based off of that. Like, I'm like, and then these people charge tens of thousands of dollars for this and bill themselves as experts. This person, this company based in Newport Beach, it bills themselves as an SEO expert and has billed themselves as an SEO expert and web development expert. They put an H1 tag in the footer. They didn't even rename their image files. These are like the most basic SEO concepts that you can even imagine, and they are wrong. You know, and I am mad.
Google has been redoing their whole SEO thing with the BERT update that's been coming. They're doing it all AI now. So H1 in the footer, that's fine. Screw it. Why not? Because nothing means anything anymore, because we're all just leaving it up to the AI to tell us what SEO is good and bad.
I don't know. Google has been adamant about the H1 tag for, I don't know, like a decade.
No, I know.
I know. But you can't even sarcasm that. People are going to be like, oh, it's not a big deal. No, it's a huge deal. Like, the H1 tag is the only tag that has ever mattered for years. Like, how do you not internalize that? Sorry, I know I'm ranting. I apologize. I'm mad.
It's going like, dude.
Everyone's like, calm down, take a breath. This is what I usually rant like this on Twitter, but this was like too much to tweet. I couldn't even like figure out how to tweet about this to get it out of my system. I was like, can I just hijack this entire episode to bitch, please? Because I am having problems.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Coming soon, a special series from WPwatercooler. Say rants.
Say rants. This was this episode. # say rants.
Yep.
# how to piss Say off.
Oh,
charge people a lot of money for a broken product and then try to pass yourself off as an expert. There you go. You want to know how to piss me off? I'm pretty not easily pissed off, but that's how you do it.
I would say that you're outing somebody in Newport Beach that does SEO, but if you were to do a Google search for SEO people in Newport Beach,
you can't find them.
It's all of them. Everyone's an SEO.
That's true. I was going to say their site's not going to come up because they don't know how to do SEO.
It's all good. And they bought a beach house off of it. So
I did not say the name of the company.
You did not.
And I would like to just point that out because I could, and I could do it on Twitter also, and I'm not. And that's either nice of me or bad business. I'm not sure if it's like good or bad, or if we should, like, this isn't a name and shame situation, but I'm not saying the name of the company or the name of the site. Just ranting anonymously.
But you did point out that they are an SEO expert in Newport Beach. So get to Googling, everybody, and let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Man. Good stuff.
I'll tell you if you're right. You won't find it. I'm sure you won't find it. But it's a larger company, but you never
Well,
know.
hey,
Anyway, good luck.
It's been 30 minutes of complaining about this, and I really appreciate the two of you hanging out and talking about this stuff. Here's our quick outro.
Heck yeah.
Hey, if you want to help us out, go over to patreon.com/WPwatercooler. We'd really appreciate that. By the way, Jason Cosper, who's on the show, backs us. So if Jason Cosper's doing this, you should be doing this too. And I'd love to be able to like change this, so help us out. Hit subscribe, hit the little bell. We'd really appreciate it. And if you don't like looking at us and you just want to listen to us, you can do that too. We're available as a podcast. So you can go download us wherever the amazing podcasts can be found. Thank you very much. And also, if you are watching us on YouTube, you can click on any of these buttons that are here on the left, and we would love to have you check out some of the other content we have. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.